But I don't think anyone saw the fart coming.
It's Queen Claudia for the whole week.
The BBC was saying it's the biggest non-scripted show since 2022.
First of all, he said that he feels like she's racing towards death.
Obviously, everyone wanted to know what was going on between her and Tommy.
Oh, sorry. Whoops.
My dad did ring me the other day and said, "Did you see what Claudia was wearing?" This is Showbiz Fix, your destination for the inside scoop on all our celebrity exclusives and the biggest entertainment stories you're talking about this week. Britney's ex, Kevin Federline, had a stark warning about her in his new book, and we'll get into the Naughties Telly reunion that has got social media buzzing earlier this week. But we'll start once again this week with the celebrity traitors because, like Celia Imrie's fart in a cabin, we just can't escape it. And I've actually got two traitors joining me in the studio. Traitors, reveal yourselves. Oh, okay, it's my colleagues Rod and Emily. Here we are. What's it like being under those traitors' hoods? Do you feel just like a real-life Jonathan Ross?
Yeah, I feel like you get in character, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I can get 40 grand like the celeb traitors now, it'll complete the sensation. Is that okay?
Maybe you're going to be even more bitchy than usual today then.
Ooh,
yes. We are now.
So
Payback
talking
time.
about the show then, it's obviously been so huge. We're 2 weeks in. Rod, what can you tell us about the numbers?
Well, they're huge. That's what I can tell you. There's like 12 million people at least have watched the first episode. That makes it the biggest ever Traitors episode ever. And I think that the BBC was saying it's the biggest non-scripted show since 2022. I think that basically means things like Gavin and Stacey. I think that got like 19 million. But there's very, very few other shows that have got that anywhere near that level. But 12 million is staggering in this day and age. And then on Wednesday, the show got 7.1 million, and on Thursday it got a little bit higher than 7.1 million. So these are huge numbers by the standards of ordinary terrestrial telly. And when it goes out, it doubles when it goes onto iPlayer. That's incredible.
Wow.
It is really like appointment television. I am terrified to go out on a Wednesday or a Thursday evening now because I need to rush back. Last night I was out having drinks and I was like, okay, I need to be back by the end of the episode so I can watch it before the actual episode finishes. You know, it's hard like that. But also, you know, Strictly is the other big show on TV at the moment. And the thing they have in common is obviously Claudia Winkleman, who helms them both. Do you think she is the BBC's best asset now?
Oh, she has to be. I mean, she's on, Wednesday, Thursday. It Takes Two. We sort of see her as well. Saturday night, Sunday. It's Queen Claudia for the whole week. But, I mean, she's amazing, so...
Yeah, she is very good. And it's funny, I was thinking the other day that like maybe even just 15 years ago, Claudia wasn't like a Davina McCall or even like a Tess Daly or even like an Amanda Holden. She's sort of gone in the space of 15 years from being someone who's not really a household name to being someone who's like Queen of TV. She now hosts the top 2 most watched shows on British TV. That's an incredible accomplishment, and everybody likes her.
Yeah, that's it. I think everyone loves Claudia, and everyone likes to see what she's wearing as well and how well her wardrobe has done. You know, people are going out and buying tartan and boots. It's become a thing, hasn't it?
It's actually a real talking point. My dad did ring me the other day and said, "Did you see what Claudia was wearing?" And I thought, wow, I've never heard you talk about anyone's outfit ever.
Yeah.
So it's quite intriguing. And, you know, there's an incredible cast for this series. And the talk is that they are going to do another Celebrity Traitors. I mean, why wouldn't they? It's been such a success already. Who would you like to see on there? Because I feel like TikTok is already going through who there could be in the next series. If you were casting it, who would you be putting on the show?
Wow, that's a great question. I would love to see someone on there like a fantastic Shakespearean actor like, I don't know, Kenneth Branagh or Patrick Stewart. I'd tell you who'd be brilliant on there, Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you need someone dramatic and a little bit older and grander like Stephen Fry, you know, a big dog, as Joe Marler likes to refer to them. But who would you like to see like in the younger bracket?
In the younger bracket, see, I was thinking Graham Norton. That was my one that I was like, you know what, he would just fit the bill. And he BBC, he knows, he's like able to sort of, obviously seeing him on the chat show, you know, command that sort of, you know, between other people and get the most out of them. But I also think in terms of younger people, I think, you know, obviously influencers are becoming, they're having more people on from YouTube. So maybe someone in that sphere.
Yeah. I mean, I did see some people on TikTok suggesting Alison Hammond, who would be
yes!
obviously just hilarious
Amazing.
if she went on there.
Yeah.
And there's just so many people, isn't there? I think it would be so interesting if some people who have always been very careful about their image went on. Imagine if Holly Willoughby or Cheryl went on. It would just be so good because you'd actually see them in a way I think that you just haven't seen them in a long time. So I feel like there's a lot of different options there. But also, you know, there are some of the breakout stars, I think, this year have been the lesser known celebrities. Like, I would say probably a lot of the people who are watching didn't necessarily know who Kat Burns was beforehand. And now she's kind of one of the stars of the show. She's flying right under the radar, no one's suspecting her. Who are your standout stars?
Obviously, Alan. I feel like I'm watching it for Alan to the point that I actually never watched the civilian one. This is the first time I've properly watched a full series. I know.
Missing out. You need to go back and watch all of them instantly.
I do. But I feel like watching Alan, sometimes even I can watch the clips on socials and then I'll still watch it and still laugh, which I think tells, you know, he's such a good character to have on there.
It's stating the obvious, but like Celia Imrie is TV gold, and I think we always had an inkling that she might be, but I don't think anyone saw the fart coming, or they would have got out of the way. But basically, she is. I think she's slightly playing up to the cameras, dare I say. But what's wrong with that? If you're an actress and you're that funny and you're that clever, great, you know, bring it on. And also, look, Rossi, a lot of people are going to take against Rossi because he is playing the game a bit too much, but at least he is actually playing the game. And that's what you're in there to do. Because I think there's an awful lot of people in there that are just sort of slightly fading into the background. I mean, am I being cynical, or do you think that there's quite a few people that you just don't notice?
For sure, yeah, there is. I think it'll be interesting with Jonathan, though, because it does feel like the spotlight is firmly on him right now. Whether he can survive much longer is a big question, but we've seen it on previous series where someone is, you know, really like suspect number one, and then they stay in for weeks and weeks and weeks, and sometimes even get to the final. So I don't know. What do you reckon? Do you think he's got long left?
I think, you know what, I think people need to be a little bit more honest on there. I think people aren't really saying, I think I've seen it on socials and they're like, say what you really think, you know, you can be a little bit more savage. And I think as the days go on, we might see that. But I think Jonathan, as is Alan, they are hiding in plain sight. So it's whether people are actually going to start to clock onto that. Yeah.
I think that next week, Jonathan will go. I'm going to stick my neck out and say that because the light is on him. Because I think you saw Claire Balding when she went out and she basically said, I was sure, and there was a part of me that was sure it was Jonathan, but I didn't actually go for it. And I think the next time the gloves will come off and the people that thought it might be him will now manifest that at the round table. I think part of the problem is that someone like Jonathan Ross and Stephen Fry and maybe even Alan Carr, because they're big stars, because they're a little bit older, they're seen as like the daddy of the group. And you don't get rid of the daddy from a family. They are the daddy for a reason. So I think there's a sort of residual respect. But next week, I think that will go because people will start to think, well, if it isn't them, it could be me. So I think I think Jonathan Ross will go next week.
I actually think that Charlotte Church looks very suspicious as well. If I was in that room, I'd be thinking, she's a traitor. I was watching it last night thinking, Charlotte Church must be a traitor. And then I realized I do actually know who the traitors are. So that was a silly thing to think. But I think she's playing a very suspicious game and she looks very awkward at the round table. I'm surprised she's not had more of a light shone on her, honestly.
So what, you think she just looks suspicious?
I think when someone's too much of a sweetheart, you instantly then think, well, they must be hiding something because, you know, if you're going to be a traitor, they're going to choose someone that's not an obvious traitor. But then I suppose, obviously, Jonathan Ross, I would have thought he would have been too obvious because he's too much of a big character. But then he's able to sort of go under the radar because he's just being himself. So
I can't work out whether some people are going under the radar or are just a bit boring.
Yeah, I think people are being a little bit boring. I think you're right. Yeah.
And I also think that they naturally become like beta type figures rather than alpha figures because you've got like the big dogs like Alan Carr and stuff like that. And also if you're Alan Carr and you're constantly being funny, you're always going to grab the camera's attention. They're always going to edit you in and other people out. So I think that if one or two of the B-listers, sorry, whoops. If one or two of the B-listers go next week, I don't think anyone's going to shed many tears, let's be right. So.
Yeah. Jonathan has had a lot of screen time, but partly because so many people have been suspicious of him. But he has said this week that he didn't enjoy filming. And I can kind of see why that would be the case. But what do you reckon, Rod?
I think that I think he had a moment of absolute candor on a podcast. And he said what he thought, which was, I didn't enjoy it because I was a traitor.
Well, you said you found it really challenging and really difficult. And obviously now knowing
now
the
you know
reveal
I'm a
that,
traitor,
yeah.
then that's why. And I found it really wearing on me. The lying made me genuinely increasingly uncomfortable.
Now, there's nothing wrong with saying that. But then he sort of backpedaled. He went onto social media and said, there's been some misleading reports. And it's like, no, your podcast was probably the misleading thing because you didn't quite say what you really meant. Now, that's okay, but then don't sort of backpedal and sort of say, oh, well, my words have been misconstrued. He's been in show business for, 40 years? He can say or not say exactly what he wants, and he didn't quite say what he claimed he was trying to say. So, yeah, I get it. Being a traitor must be an enormous amount of pressure. And someone was saying on the show last night, it's really easy to just continually be able to tell the truth. You sit at that table, and if you're a faithful, and you can sit there and say, I'm not a faithful. I went up to the castle and I did the round table thing. And basically, I was a traitor. I got picked as a traitor. I took my hood off, much like today, and I basically had to say, I am a faithful. And immediately everyone could tell I was lying. So that's how difficult it is to keep up the line that pretends.
Yeah, quite tiring as well, I can imagine, because every single thing, you've got nothing else to go off, have you? So everything is microanalyzed, isn't it?
I think they're quite long days as well, filming late
Yeah.
into the night. It would be exhausting and maybe quite psychologically draining, let's put it that way. Also in the news this week has been Kevin Federline's book about Britney Spears. So they were obviously married a long time ago. And then split up. And I think from the second he announced that he was releasing this memoir, all of the Britney fans were rolling their eyes because they were thinking, okay, here comes another cash grab. The whole narrative with Kevin Federline the whole time has been that he has sort of been living off Britney's wealth the entire time that they have had any relationship. That is obviously partly because they've got 2 sons together. But I'm not sure if you guys saw any of the claims this week that he has made in this book. It is quite shocking. So first of all, he said that he feels like she is racing towards death if she doesn't get help, which is a shocking statement to make in itself. Then he also went on to allege that she drank whilst breastfeeding her children, and also that she held a knife over the bed of her children when they were sleeping, which is obviously terrifying and really emotional things, which I don't know what you think, but should these things really be made public if you really are that concerned about the mother of your children?
I think despite the fact their children are both over the age of 18 now, it doesn't matter. They're still your parents. And do they really want to be reading that stuff? Whether they like it or not, it will probably become something they read in time, or, it'll be on social media. And I just think, at the end of the day, there's 2 children involved. And I just think it's not good for them, really. And what is he getting out of it? Putting all of this in a book. I just think it's not good for him either, really. Yeah,
it does feel like just a cash grab, really, doesn't it? And there's even some text messages that have emerged today that are in the book from Britney's sister, Jamie Lynn, where she sort of says that she started to resent Britney and feels really sorry for her kids having her as a mother, which is just heartbreaking as well. And these texts were allegedly from after the conservatorship was ended in 2021. So I think it's going to get a lot more messy. Obviously, Britney has already come out this week and accused Kevin of gaslighting her. She's done some really emotional statements online about how much this is hurting her and how she has always felt like the victim in this situation. But I do sort of wonder, is there anything that Britney can do now to sort of stop him even continuing with this narrative? Because it feels like, to me at least, there's not really people on Britney's side fighting her corner. I think the trouble is that this narrative isn't one that he's created. It's one that's being created. He's continuing a narrative that already exists. But that just makes it all the more exploitative. He could have written a book in which he sort of tried to help her or tried to point out her good points, but he hasn't. He's just twisted the knife, pulled it out, and poured some salt in the wound. And you were saying before,
about being a parent. You know, what parent writes a book about the mother of their children and says all these horrible things, particularly when some of the horrible things involve the children? I mean, what kind of parent does that to their kids? I mean, has he in any way tried to justify why he's done this? You know, has he come up with some lame excuse as to why this is a good idea?
I think he sort of claims that it's his story to tell and that he is worried about Britney. But I think if you're worried about someone, it's not something you do.
Yeah, it's just, as we said, hurtful to everyone involved. I think putting all of this in a book is not going to solve anything, and it's not going to change or rewrite the past, what's happened. And is
he going to donate all the money to charity?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I mean, if it's not about money, which to you and I we would suggest it was, give all the money to charity. Why don't you give it to a children's charity? You know, he should put his money where his mouth is, but I have a feeling it'll go straight into K-Fed's bank account.
Well, come on, Kevin, if you're listening, you know what you have to do. On a lighter note, Emily, you were at the launch of Molly-Mae's new Amazon Prime series yesterday, which is out on Friday this week. What can you tell us? What did you see?
So we watched episode 1. So this is season 2, part 1. The next part will be dropping in 2026. So this follows on from the previous series. Obviously, there was a lot in that about her and Tommy Fury. It was, you know, in light of their breakup. And I think when I went to the screening before, when it was season 1, it seemed very tense. Obviously, everyone wanted to know what was going on between her and Tommy. Whereas this time it felt a lot lighter. You know, it was a very small screening room with a select few number of journalists who watched it. And she did a Q&A afterwards. And you could see she was a lot more relaxed. You know, she's won an NTA off the back of season 1. And clearly there's an audience for it. You know, I watch her vlogs and I can't describe why I find them so soothing. I think it's because it's just seeing someone go about their everyday life while you're sort of doing that as well, but she's in like a multi-million-pound house. I don't know what it is, but there's something quite enjoyable. And I watched episode 1 yesterday. And obviously we can't say anything about it at the moment, but everyone was like, oh, you know, what happened? And I couldn't quite describe what happened, but I liked it. And I don't know, I think it's obviously Amazon Prime do such a good job of filming that they can make anything look flawless and amazing.
So is the content much different from what's in the vlogs anyway?
I mean, obviously we'll see her behind the scenes of her L'Oreal runway. She did her Walk Your Worth catwalk and all of the sort of drama that goes along with that. So we will see a lot more. And she even said in the Q&A, she's a lot more candid on the documentary than she is on her vlogs, which I found quite interesting because I thought you would feel more comfortable just holding a camera. But she said...
Money talks.
Yeah, money talks, yeah. But she even said, actually, you know, she doesn't want to be the person that has loads of drama in their life. But she said when something is going wrong, she'll get in touch with her manager and they'll get the camera crew over straight away because they're based in Manchester. And I just can't imagine that going through my head. But then maybe, as you say, if I had all the money coming in, I'd be like, hi, something's going wrong. Just come on over and film this. But I mean,
that's always what made the Kardashians so brilliant.
Yeah.
Is you wanted to see every tear, you wanted to see every fight. You know, it's kind of what you want. But it is, I just can't imagine being in turmoil in my private life and being like, well, I suppose I better get the crew round, better turn this negative into a positive. You know, I guess that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Is it strictly speaking a documentary, would you say? Because I always think that there's an awful lot of these shows around now which are quite heavily curated. You know, it isn't fly on the wall. No one's there really asking difficult questions. Is that this kind of show? Or would you say it's a genuine documentary in any way?
It felt a lot like the Victoria Beckham one in the sense that, you know, you were there and it was selling her fashion brand as much as it was giving you an insight into Victoria's life. So it felt a lot like that. Obviously, she's got her Maybe clothing brand and she's got other brand deals. And it's a very polished version, of course, of someone's life. It's not like a fly on the wall sort of, you know, it's very streamlined and everything's very glossy and her house is just pristine. And Bambi, who is sort of in that sort of toddler era now, is the main character in it. And I think that's going to cause a lot of sort of online comments, you know, saying how much should she be in a documentary when she herself hasn't got the consent, I suppose. You know, at what length do you show your toddler having a tantrum And I don't know. I just think there's going to be a conversation around that, I suppose.
I mean, what harm can it do, I suppose?
Well, yeah, but if you're a 30-year-old woman and then you've got all these videos online of you having a tantrum as a child, it's not ideal, is it? Or like do you really want everyone when you're 20 years old to know that you used to bite someone called Emily in nursery? You know, it's not maybe what you want in life.
No, but I mean, we live in a crazy showbiz world, don't we? I mean, if K-Fed's writing books about your mother used to hold a knife over you, it's nothing compared to a bit of nibbling in the nursery.
And Molly has had some criticism about her parenting aside from that as well. Is that sort of referenced in the show at all?
So she does, obviously there was that whole thing about when she said, you know, I haven't done one fun thing all summer and, you know, I'm a mum and I've got all this stuff on my plate. And I believe that is also referenced. To the extent I haven't watched episodes 2 and 3 yet, so I can't say. But there's they do insert a lot of, you know, social clips and what people are talking about online because that is her world, I suppose. But yeah, you see quite a lot of her and how she's been very open about her struggles with motherhood and, you know, navigating that, especially when her and Tommy are living in separate houses as well.
Is he in it? Is he featured in it a lot?
On FaceTime, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it feel like she's more thick-skinned now? Because you can tell in the past, you know, she's been really upset about criticism leveled at her on social media and stuff. Do you think that she's changed at all, or is she in that same space? I
think she has become a lot more thick-skinned, and I think she even said yesterday, she was like, pre-Love Island, she's actually been doing this sort of content creating for 10 years now. So I think she knows, you know, anything that she puts online is going to be heavily scrutinized, whether she says she's having a good day or a bad day. And obviously she knows the documentaries do very well, but also people want to see chaos as well, don't they? So I think she knows what she has to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
other big story that you broke this week, Rod, is about a comeback of a very big TV show, The Inbetweeners. What can you tell us?
Basically a deal has been struck between the people that wrote it and a big production house, Banner J, to remake The Inbetweeners. Now, what's interesting about this is it's been, 11 years since they made the movie version of it, and I think 15 years since the last series on Channel 4. And I mean, look, it isn't a done deal. They've struck this deal so that they can make it, but when they'll make it, who'll be in it and what form it will take remains to be seen. So what was interesting, I think Joe Thomas, one of the leading stars on it this week, was saying that he hadn't actually been part of the conversation, which is rather worrying because prior to this deal, the 4 lead lads were sort of saying, yeah, we'd be up for doing it. But then when the deal got done, no one seems to have spoken to them. Now, maybe that's, you know, it'll all be clarified in time. But at the minute, it still feels a little bit in limbo. However, the important thing is this is the first step to this happening. And it certainly sounds like they really want it to happen. But of course, the big question is, will it be changed? Will it become more woke? Will it become more 2025 or 2026, whenever it comes out? You know, will we be able to still be able to have Charlotte Big Jugs in it? Will we still be able to have all the swearing? You know, and you go back and you watch some of the episodes and you go, my God, I can't believe this ever went out. You know, there's things which now would be considered sexist, homophobic, all sorts of things, and just plain old crude. Would we be able to have that? I mean, look, I really hope that we can have that now. But I do have this sinking feeling that we might have to censor it a little bit.
Do you think there's even a possibility, in the same way that things have happened with like Skins, for example, that The Inbetweeners comes back with a completely different cast, a new series of lads in high school, and you sort of do it a different way like that? Could that even work?
I think it could. I just think it would be a real shame. But then the trouble is that the lads that did it before, by the time it comes on screen, it will be almost 20 years since they first did it. And the whole point of it was that these were like teenagers. So you had lads that were supposed to be 15 or what have you at the time, or maybe 16 or 17. And they were already played by older lads. Well, now you're going to have 40-something men supposedly meant to be playing teenage schoolboys.
They couldn't possibly be teenage schoolboys. It would have to be them nowadays.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So 2 of them have got, you know, 5 kids by 5 different women.
But will that work? I mean, but that's the thing is that, it, you know, some shows that can work on. And other shows, you just kind of go, what's the point? The whole point of the show were those 4 characters and those 4 actors. It needs to be, I can't think of many sitcoms where they can just, just create a whole new generation of people in a whole new scenario and it works. But maybe they can do it. I mean, the writers are brilliant, so.
Yeah, Outnumbered tried to do something similar, didn't they?
That's right.
Which I think the beauty of Outnumbered was the sort of chaotic kids asking the questions that the parents didn't know how to answer. And then obviously it was good, but it's not what you were watching the Outnumbered series for.
I think that last Outnumbered Christmas special was one of the worst pieces of TV I potentially have ever seen in my life.
Strong, yeah.
It was absolutely dire. Oh my God. I was so disappointed. It was not a laugh in the entire thing. There was no conclusion. I mean, I just thought it was awful, and I really hope they never ever try it again.
But did you like it, the original version?
The original was great.
Oh,
wasn't
right,
it?
okay.
Yeah.
The original was great. I think that the one that they did last Christmas was just so disappointing. So I hope it's not like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sitcoms, when you try and reboot them and bring them back in some way, it's very, very rare that they do it well or successfully. I mean, they've tried to do it with things like Porridge, Open All Hours, all sorts of things, and it just doesn't seem to work. But you're taking a sitcom that was made in the 70s and the 80s and trying to recreate it now. It's never going to be the same because you have to lose some of the stuff that was okay to laugh at back then now. And in doing so, it's not the thing it was back then. So it's really, really hard. But look, I hope the Inbetweeners does come back, but I just don't think it's going to be the same.
Fingers crossed. There's a lot of love for it, so I think people will be very excited. We're going to do Bin or Binge now, where we talk about what we are loving and hating this week. So, Emily, what are you binging this week?
I am binging. So we've all seen the Victoria's Secrets show. Oh my gosh, wow. So many incredible models. But one of them was Jasmine Tookes, who was 9 months pregnant when she was walking that runway.
Crazy.
And not only that, she looked absolutely incredible. So hats off to her. Yeah.
And what are you binning?
I am binning Kim Kardashian's thong bush. Have you seen these? Have you seen these?
These are kind of mortifying.
Rod's like,
Can you describe these to us, please?
I mean, whether this is a Halloween thing or, I mean, look, Kim knows what she's doing. These have sold out, so well done to her. But I mean, it's a pair of thongs, and she's sort of created it so it looks like a full bush on her Skims website. I mean, I was all for the nipple bra. That looks great, but I don't know about these.
Sorry, what you mean? Are you suggesting that people might go trick-or-treating wearing these?
Well, I think it might be a little bit of a sexy dress up, potentially. Okay. But I don't know. Whether it's a stunt or not, it's worked.
That says more about Emily's Halloween than anything else.
Yes, I know. She'll be wearing the cloak and one of those.
What about you, Roddy? What are you binging this week?
I am binging something rather dull. It's called The Diplomat. It's a political thriller on Netflix. And it is not as boring as it sounds. It is about a diplomat. It is about an ambassador in the UK. But it's one of those things. If you just see it on Netflix, just watch 1 or 2 episodes. It will absolutely hook you. And it's something that you kind of go, actually, I should watch this more often. And what I am going to bin is Tom Cruise's love life, because it is just ridiculous. I mean, I can't say too much, but basically the theory goes that every time he does a movie, whoever the woman is in said movie, he magically has a relationship with them. And it's just insane. And then magically, as soon as they're picked up, they're dropped again. And no one seems to mind, and no one seems to interrogate it a great deal. But I think with Hayley Atwell, he was having a relationship with her when they were doing the Mission Impossible films. And then magically, within months, she's with another guy and pregnant. I mean, relationships do not begin and end like this. So I don't know exactly what's going on. All I know is this is not a normal love life.
Well, I am binging, although you've binned Kim's furry thongs. I am binging Kim on the Call Her Daddy podcast this week. I don't know if you've listened to this, but if you like anything to do with the Kardashians, you need to listen to this. It's an hour and a half of Kim talking about everything. And I'm used to be a big Kanye fan. I think their relationship was so interesting. And she really talks very openly about him, about how she'd turn up some days and find out that he'd given away all of their cars. like that's a normal thing. And also says that it's been months since the kids even heard from him. And she really goes in. But the other thing I really like, I really actually respect, is that she admits that she does not know how much a pint of milk costs. And I think that's a great thing for a celebrity to actually admit, because I think actually a lot of people don't know, you know?
I don't know. Well, also, who buys pints of milk? I don't know about you. I always buy 2 or 4.
And also, it depends. If you go to Tesco Express, it's like double the price.
And, you know, it depends whether Kim's gone to Lidl or if she's drinking oat milk or if she's drinking almond milk.
Exactly.
So, you know, I think we should cut her some slack, and I quite like the honesty there. But I am binning people misbehaving at gigs, because I don't know if you saw this, but at Mimi Webb's gig in London this week, there was sort of like some sort of fight in the audience, and she was on stage and looked quite scared about it. And there's been a lot of this stuff over the last few years, you know, like when someone chucked a phone at BB Rexha at a gig, and when someone gave Pink their mum's ashes on stage. Like, people are just very strange. And there was also this week, Billie Eilish got like dragged to the floor by a fan at a gig. Look, we pay a lot of money to go to these concerts, and I think people need to just learn how to behave like normal human beings, because at the end of the day, celebrities are real people too. And I actually feel sorry for them at that point. So yeah, that's all from us though. That's your Showbiz Fix for this week. Remember to leave your comments for us down below, and don't forget, you can subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss your weekly Showbiz Fix. And you can hear us wherever you get your podcasts. See you next week.